I was in Phoenix for a 3-day work conference last month, staying at one of those budget hotels just off the interstate. Nothing fancy, but clean enough. Free breakfast, quiet enough at night, and close to the convention center. That's all I really cared about. It was my second night there and I'd just gotten back from the mixer. I hadn't had much to drink, just a single beer, but I was exhausted from the socializing and small talk. You know that kind of tired that settles deep in your bones? I took a quick shower, flipped through the channels for a bit, then crashed by 11:30. I remember checking the time because I was annoyed at myself for not replying to some work emails before bed. But whatever, I figured I'd wake up early and get them done. I must have fallen asleep pretty quickly because the next thing I remember was being jolted awake by a noise. Not a loud bang or anything sudden, it was gradual. A sound that took me a second to register. It was screaming. At first I thought it was the TV, maybe I'd left it on, but no. My room was dark and silent. The screaming was coming from the room next door, muffled, high-pitched, a woman's voice, frantic. Then something slammed against the wall, hard enough that I felt the headboard of my bed shake. I sat straight up, heart pounding, listening. The screaming was guttural now, more banging, thudding, like someone was being thrown into furniture. I froze. I wish I could say I jumped into action or called 911 immediately, but truthfully, I was stunned. I sat there in the dark trying to process what the hell I was hearing. Another slam. Then, silence. Dead, sudden silence. Like someone had pressed pause on the world, I grabbed the hotel phone and dialed the front desk. Hi. I think there's a serious problem in the room next to mine. It sounded like someone was screaming, loudly. You need to check, the guy on the other end interrupted me. Calm. Too calm. Oh, don't worry, sir. We're aware of the situation in that room. I blinked. Okay, but are you doing anything about it? It sounded violent. He paused. There's no cause for alarm. It's been handled. I didn't know what to say to that. Handled. What does that even mean? I stared at the wall between my room and the next one for a long time. No more sounds. I wanted to call the police, but something about the way the front desk guy had said it's been handled stuck with me, like a warning. Eventually, against all logic, I fell back asleep. The next morning, I waited until around 9 before heading out for coffee. As I passed the room next door, I noticed the door was propped open with one of those rubber wedges, and a housekeeper was inside. She looked normal, casual, humming a tune under her breath. But as I slowed down pretending to check my phone, I saw what she was doing. The bed sheets were bundled in a huge black garbage bag, stained with something dark. Her gloves were red, not bright red, like wine or cherry juice. Deeper, browner, blood red. She glanced at me, just briefly, and didn't smile. No acknowledgement, just turned and wheeled the cart further into the room. My stomach dropped. Back in my own room, I paced for what felt like an hour. I wanted to report it, but to who? I couldn't even prove what I heard, and the front desk had already dismissed me. What would the cops say? I decided to pack up and check out early. I lied and said there was a family emergency. As I handed over my key card, I asked, casually, "Hey, the people who were in room 213, did they check out already?" The same guy from last night was at the counter. He stared at me, not angry, just blank. There was no one in that room last night. I opened my mouth to argue, but something about his face, his voice, made my skin crawl. So I just nodded, took my receipt, and left. That night I searched online, tried to find anything about crimes at that hotel. Nothing. But when I looked up the hotel's reviews, I noticed something weird. There were several reviews mentioning loud screaming, years apart, all brushed off by management responses saying it was a misunderstanding. The guest was watching a horror movie. No police report was ever filed. No one ever seemed to follow up. I didn't either, but I haven't stayed in a hotel since. I've done my fair share of traveling for work, nothing glamorous, just hopping between cities for conferences, client meetings, and the occasional site visit. Over the years, I've stayed in dozens of hotels, budget places, chain places. Occasionally, something a little nicer if the company was feeling generous. So when I pulled up to the Greenfield Inn and Suites just off I-35 in Kansas, I wasn't expecting much. It was almost 11 p.m., and I was just looking for a clean bed and a locked door. The building looked fine enough from the outside. 3 stories, brick facade, faded flag flapping on a pole out front. But as soon as I stepped inside, I got that weird off feeling. The kind your brain doesn't know how to explain, but your gut won't ignore. It wasn't one thing, just everything felt a little too still. Like someone had hit the pause button, and I'd walked into a place waiting for a cue that hadn't come. The lobby lights were on, but dim. Not romantic dim, just old fluorescent dim. There were some potted plants near the window, long dead. The TV on the wall behind the counter played some Weather Channel on mute. The guy at the front desk looked up as I approached. Mid-30s, pale, buzz cut. His name tag said Travis. He didn't smile. "You checking in?" he asked, voice flat. "Yeah, reservation under Anna Whitman." He typed slowly, squinting at the screen like the monitor was too bright. "You traveling alone?" I hesitated. It's a question you get sometimes, harmless, in the right tone. But his voice wasn't curious. It was clinical, like he was confirming something. I nodded anyway. "Yeah, just me." He clicked around a bit more, still not making eye contact. "Then you said Whitman, right?" I hadn't said my first name. I let that go. I was tired. "Room 312, he said, sliding a key card across the counter. "Top floor, end of the hall." I reached for it, and just as I did, he added, almost too casually, "No one else with you tonight?" I forced a smile. "Nope, just me." He smiled back this time, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Got it," he said. "We like to know who's coming and going." I don't know why, but that line stuck with me. Not for security, not for your safety, just, we like to know. I should have trusted that feeling then. I took the elevator up. It creaked a little. Nothing unusual, but the ride felt longer than it should have. One of the ceiling panels was missing, wires coiled like veins above the flickering light. Room 312 was, like he said, at the end of the hall. No other doors nearby, just a vending machine halfway down the corridor and a window at the far end. The hallway had that low-level hum you find in older hotels, air vents, maybe, or some mechanical system tucked into the walls. The room itself was fine, beige everything, slightly stained desk chair, lamp with a flickery switch. It smelled faintly of industrial cleaner, and something underneath it, mildew, maybe, or old carpet. Nothing I hadn't dealt with before. I locked the door right away. Deadbolt, latch, the whole deal. Even shoved my suitcase in front of it, like some ridiculous barrier. More out of habit than actual fear. I always did that when I traveled alone. Still, I couldn't shake what the desk guy, Travis, had said. "We like to know who's coming and going." The way he kept checking if I was alone. It didn't feel like friendly small talk. It felt like he was taking note. I tried to push it out of my mind, called my partner to say goodnight, checked emails, watched a few minutes of some property flipping show until the TV remote died. Just normal hotel stuff. But around 1 a.m., I woke up. At first I didn't know why. The AC was still running. Nothing was obviously wrong. Then I realized I was awake because I thought I heard something. A click. Not loud, just soft and mechanical. I sat up. My heart started doing that slow thud when your body's ahead of your brain. Another sound. Handle movement. I stared at the door. The latch held, thank God, but the handle was slowly testing resistance. Just like someone on the other side was trying not to be heard. Not jiggling, just easing the handle down. Deliberate. I didn't say anything. Didn't move. I wasn't even sure I was fully awake until I saw the security latch flex slightly, like pressure was being applied, just enough to test how solid it was. Then nothing, no retreating footsteps, no voice, just a long silence that made my ears ring. I stayed frozen for what felt like 10 minutes. Then I got up, as quietly as I could, and looked through the peephole. Empty hallway, nothing but that cheap floral carpet and soft yellow light. I stood there for a while, Eventually, I pulled my suitcase back and checked the door. The latch was still in place, the deadbolt still turned, but I was absolutely certain someone had tried to come in. I didn't sleep after that. I just sat in bed with the TV on mute and the bedside lamp flickering. Around 3:20 a.m., my hotel phone rang. It startled the hell out of me. I let it ring once, twice, then picked it up. Nothing, just a faint hum on the other end. No breathing, no background noise, just silence. Then it clicked off. I unplugged the phone and left it off the hook. I told myself it could have been anything. Wrong number, glitch, drunk guest. But something about that silence felt intentional. By the time the sun started rising, I was already dressed and packed. I didn't shower. I didn't even brush my teeth. I just wanted to be out of that room. The hallway felt different in daylight, less ominous, more stale. But I still kept looking over my shoulder as I made my way to the elevator, half expecting someone to be standing silently at the end of the hall. The lobby was empty when I stepped out. No guests, no breakfast buffet, just Travis, sitting at the desk like he hadn't moved all night. His eyes locked on me the moment I approached. Checking out early, he asked, already reaching for the keyboard. Yeah, I said. My voice came out dry. Didn't sleep well. He didn't ask why, didn't offer a platitude, just nodded slowly and typed something into the computer. Then he said, that room's not a favorite, too far from the cameras. I blinked. What? He didn't repeat himself, just slid my receipt toward me and looked back at the screen. I stared at him for a second. My pulse picked up again. Was anyone on my floor last night? I asked, forcing calm into my voice. Around 1 or maybe 3. He finally looked at me, really looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot, tired, but focused. There's only one other guest on that floor, he said. Checked in before you did. Room 309. I waited for more. He didn't offer it. Can you see who went up there? Maybe on security. Travis just shrugged. The hallway camera on 3's been out for weeks. Still waiting on corporate. Convenient. I stood there for another few seconds, waiting to see if he'd break, admit something, even smile. Nothing. Then he asked again, too casual. You said it was just you, right? I left. As soon as I got back to my car, I locked the doors and pulled out of the lot without even putting on music. I just drove until the hotel disappeared from my rearview mirror. I filed a complaint with the hotel chain later that day. Got a form reply. No apology, no follow-up. But about a week later, out of curiosity, or maybe just some part of me, needing to prove I hadn't imagined it, I looked up reviews for the Greenfield Inn. Most were unremarkable. 3 stars, decent place to crash, old but clean. But buried in the older reviews was one from last year. Creepy staff. Guy at the front desk kept asking if I was alone. I thought it was just awkward, small talk. But then I heard my door handle turn in the middle of the night. Called the desk, no answer. Left early, never going back. Different room, same floor, same guy, same pattern. That review was from a man. He only posted once. No responses, no updates. I don't know what the hell happened in that hotel, or what Travis meant by too far from the cameras. But I haven't stayed in a 3rd floor room since, and I never ever say I'm traveling alone.